Can you guys hear me? I say we start with US dollar. Monthly's not looking too good. So it looks like we're definitely breaking down. We didn't get much momentum after this double bottom, low test, nice bullish candle, and immediately got rejected. So now we're definitely forming lower highs and lower lows, another lower high. So it'll be interesting to see what happens once we near this wedge here and see if we just get a complete collapse and break out to the bottom. If this does fall, if this does end up breaking this, I'd be curious to see how much further down it'll go. See if we can come down and test these. I'm hoping it'll be a pretty smooth ride with Mr. Trump talking as much as he is. Let me adjust. How about now? Is this any better? Too quiet? Let me see how I can adjust this. Or maybe I can just talk louder. If I talk louder like this, can you guys hear me? Perfect. I'll just talk louder. So I want to see what happens once we get down to the bottom of this wedge here. I think it's a pretty safe bet that it'll come at least down to the bottom of this wedge. What happens then? Who knows? Hopefully all this panic. I actually have a really nice microphone. I just don't know how to play with the settings very well. So that's something I will look into this weekend. Yeah, so I'm bearish, definitely bearish, at least until we get down to the bottom of this wedge and see what happens. So with that, let's start with Aussie Swiss. So Aussie Swiss has been kind of a tricky one. This is one that's kind of been going back and forth. And out of all the Aussie pairs, this one hasn't been the cleanest. Just because the last couple of weeks it's been kind of going sideways. It did come back down. It looks like we got this breakout higher high, and now we have a higher low. It looks like a double bottom on the daily, potentially. So this one I could definitely see. You could see that there's a little trend line, probably on the 4 hour, that it looks like it's about to break out of. And I could definitely see this going up to target at least these recent lows right here. Aussie's looking pretty bullish in my opinion. So let's go down to the daily. So the daily's been slowly grinding up. we had a lot of deceleration, a lot of tops here. It's like a quad top, but we still got to break up or break out higher. Now we formed a double bottom. Now we have a higher low, and it looks like we're changing direction and we're going to start going to the upside. So 4 hour actually had a nice entry. It would have been nicer if we had a confirmed higher high here. This was still kind of a double top basically. So once this takes off and we get the next higher high, this first pullback lower. Gotcha. Yeah, still room to move though. I like this as a target, the recent lows. I think that's a nice target for this week. So I'm definitely going to keep Aussie Swiss on the watch for this week, just because it looks like it's finally breaking out. This is a really ugly kind of descending triangle here. But now we've got a nice breakout here. Now we're above the daily. We're above all the EMAs now, with the exception of the monthly, which is up there. So this is looking pretty good now. Now we don't have anything in our way. So I'll definitely keep Aussie Swiss on the watch for the week ahead. Let's have a look at Aussie Yen. Aussie Yen has been so bearish. So Aussie Yen has the beautiful monthly. This one's gonna be kind of tricky, just because Aussie's looking strong, and if I want to take anything short, I definitely don't want to take a strong one. I'd like to take one of the weaker ones. But it looks like Aussie's potentially powering up for the week ahead. But there isn't much. It looks like we're potentially forming a lower high here, and I could definitely see the price start trying to retrace back up. A retest of this level here. Let's get rid of these lines. So a retest back up here would be a fantastic value area to take this back short. The higher time frames just look really good on this. I'm not too concerned with the weekly. I mean, potentially price is going to hopefully pull back to this area and we'll have a little break above potentially, but trading back down doesn't seem like an issue to me. I could be totally wrong and this could bottom and start taking off, but I don't think that's the case. I'm pretty confident that the yen is still going to keep powering up, especially if the dollar keeps dropping. People got to put their money somewhere, and the yen seems to be the place people always put it. So I'll be looking for a pullback. I don't think I'll take any long positions, any counter trend positions on this, just because it's so bearish. We do have a nice intraday potential trend line here. And I like this little level here. This looks pretty good. So I could definitely see this pulling back. Maybe a riskier counter trend, just because the momentum is huge and this monthly chart is just now playing out, and I could definitely see it going down. So any counter trend trades, make sure they're quick in and outs. I wouldn't want to try to take anything too long and have it reverse on you. So I don't foresee anything on Aussie yen that I'm too interested in, just because I think it's going to be counter trend plays for the week ahead. Maybe at the end of the week we'll get something, but for right now, I'm not really a fan. Let's look at Aussie CAD. I think this is the one with the, yeah. So this one's pretty interesting. This is a wicked low test, projecting the weekly. The weekly's not well respected on this, or at least not recently. It's kind of all over the place. But this is the 50% retracement. This is the weekly 50. This is a nice, I mean, this is a ton of momentum here. And I think this has a lot to do with not only Aussie powering up, but the US oil looks like it's starting its bearish run again. So this could be a really good play. So you can see we definitely have a confirmed higher low. We did have a nice double top, but we still have a higher low here. And I thought we might get some at least some deceleration here, but it looks like price is just going to continue higher. And I don't think this daily 50 or 49, whatever I'm using, is really going to be much of an issue to break through. The 4-hour chart's extremely bearish or bullish, and now we have a break above the 4-hour here. So I'll be definitely keeping my eye on this. We're going to need some sort of pullback. Maybe we can get like an APL on this, a nice little pullback, and target this area up here. At least to this zone. But I like this. I like Aussie CAD a lot. I think it has a lot of potential. It's definitely something I'll add to the weekly watch. Let's have a look at Aussie Kiwi. Aussie Kiwi's looking pretty interesting. I don't think we got much confirmation with the low volume, but it's definitely looking interesting. So let's look at the monthly real quick. Aussie Kiwi monthly. So we did have this breakout rejection of the monthly 49. Weekly chart looks pretty good. I like the breakout higher high. Looks like we are changing trend here. And price has been slowly pulling back after this massive run up. This was a huge run on the intraday chart. And it looks like price is potentially decelerating here. We're like right above the 382 retracement. So daily chart was actually looking pretty good with these double inverted hammer candles rejecting the daily, and then we started to get some bullish momentum come in. But on the intraday, it kind of died out pretty quick. And I was actually waiting. Once we got this break above, I thought this one right here, this on the 1-hour chart, was a nice low test. I was looking for something around this level here, but it kind of just chopped sideways. So I was waiting for a confirmed breakout above, waiting for this higher high to develop, and we never got it. It just kind of chopped and chopped and chopped. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next week. I could see this potentially coming down to test these levels here. I think this is going to play out kind of like Euro dollar did, where it had a breakout and then it really retraced hard down to this 618 level in the very bottom of this trend line here before it finally took off. So that's what I'll be looking for next week. But I definitely want to see the momentum actually return, because we are still kind of prematurely at this retrace. It's a nice 618 of this previous move here, but the overall move, it's still sitting at the 318 or a little above, so it could potentially pull back a little further. Is this what you're looking at, Scott? Kind of like... Kind of like that, Scott. Yeah, monthly chart's kind of ugly. I mean, price has just been it hasn't been running too well compared to other pairs, but I think this one has some potential. I'm definitely going to keep it on my radar and see what happens. See if we get that nice breakout above because we had a ton. This was a ton of momentum here, and if it regains strength again, I want to be able to catch it this time. So I'm going to definitely keep this on the weekly watch. I think it's got a lot of potential once we get some better confirmation. Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar's really interesting. So Aussie dollar weekly chart. Let's look at the monthly real quick. So the monthly chart, we've been stuck in this range for a year plus, and we got this little inverted hammer candle that I thought was going to lead to some real bearish momentum. I thought we were going to easily come down and test these lows again, but it looks like we're finally stalling out, and it looks like price could potentially break this long term. What is this? 12-month support level here, and it was even well respected back in 2015. So it looks like we could potentially break above. We got a nice double bottom, nice rejection of the weekly EMA. We're starting to decelerate a little bit at the daily level, but I think this is going to just completely break through. I could be wrong, but I think it's definitely has some potential. So once price gets up to this level, I'll most likely bring my stop up to break even. This is one of the 5 trades I have open. Actually, this is the first time I've had 5 trades open, and I can't even remember how long. So anyone that's incorporating APLs into their trading regimen, you might want to, if you're heavily capital partitioned, you might want to add a little more, just because these APLs take a little longer to play out, and they could eat up your margin. So definitely prepare for sitting on trades a little longer with these APLs. But this one will be interesting. I mean, if we do get a breakout, any sort of retest, I would love to have this as a continuation. I think there's a pretty good chance that we can at least come up and test these lows or these highs up here around 80 cents. That'd be a nice 500 pips, at least 300 pips once we get a retest of this zone here. So this is definitely something I'm keeping on the watch. Aussie looks bullish in my opinion, pretty bullish. And if US dollar starts falling off a cliff, this thing could really take off. So let's have a look at CAD Yen. CAD Yen looks like it's not coming back. I think it's going to come down and retest these lows. For a while, I thought we were going to get some nice rejection here, but I don't know at this point. With CAD being so heavily linked to oil, and oil is not looking good at all. So, and yen is powering up. So this could be, if you're going to have a short play on any of the yen pairs, I think this is the yen pair to play. Just because I don't think there's anything stopping this from falling all the way down here. So this is a pretty good bottom here, triple bottom. So I think any sort of retest of this level here and holding it short would be a pretty safe play. I mean, I like how it decelerated here. I mean, this is a triple bottom on the 4-hour chart. So this is some pretty good deceleration. And now it looks like the run is going to begin again. So I think this first pullback here will be the start of another good run. I mean, the daily decelerated pretty good, but now it looks like it's just going to start moving again. So CAD Yen for shorts, I definitely want to keep my eye on this one. I think this one has a lot of potential. see the monthly, it formed this lower high at this monthly 49. Now it's just fallen. I do not foresee this stopping anytime soon. With especially like I said with oil, I think this is if you're going to take a short play, this is the short play. So any sort of APL, any sort of false break. Look at these 4-hour false breaks. Every single one would have played out beautifully. This one actually had 2 of them up here, 3 of them, 4 of them. So when you get these, I think I'm going to write that. CAD Yen APL. This is going to be a very good pair to look for these APLs and these continuation plays, just because it's so bearish. Let's have a look at CAD Swiss. CAD Swiss was looking so good last week, but with the recent oil so this weekly chart doesn't look too great. I guess you could interpret it as it's like a perfect 618 rejection, so that's nice. So you can see that price came up, retested this weekly. This is a pretty good, it's a pretty choppy zone here. But we got an inverted hammer candle, or hammer candle, that shows deceleration, shows that people tried to move it down. And now we have a weekly high test. So I think any sort of bullish momentum that was coming from this higher low here and this bullish engulfing, I think it's pretty much died out at this point, unfortunately. I'm not really a fan of how this weekly chart looks. It's kind of ugly. Let's look at the daily chart. Let's remove some of this madness here. So price is sitting perfectly at the 618 retracement. We're stalling a little bit at the daily, but I think that's just the low volume in the market. So I could definitely see this coming down. I don't really have a bias on Swiss at the moment, so I don't know if Swiss is going to be weak too. I don't want to trade it while it's still in this consolidation range here. Yeah, I just don't like this. It's too unclear. It's chopping back and forth between this range. I need a breakout in one direction. I think there's just better stuff to trade than try to worry about CAD Swiss and all this zone stuff that's going on. Let's look at Euro Aussie. Euro Aussie looks great. Let's start with the monthly here. So we are definitely starting to break down. This was a pretty good level here. Let's get rid of. This is a pretty good level here. This was a double bottom that led to a higher high, and price just started to fall. And the weekly chart was just disgusting. But like Dimitri said last week, it seems to alternate up, down, up, down, up, down, and we had a nice down. So that was a good call. Definitely a good call. Daily chart had this pretty good looking head and shoulder pattern with this slanted neckline here. The tweezers took forever to get any sort of downside momentum and actually pulled back a little further than I even anticipated. But then we finally got this really nice drop. So price has basically shown its hand here. And now we have this nice break of the trend line here. I definitely see this. I see this coming down to test these lows here, especially with Euro looking as crappy as it is with the French elections going on. So this one's definitely on my watch list. This one has a lot of potential in my opinion. So this isn't a position that I took, but I know Ben took this as an APL short, and I know it's looking pretty good. But any sort of pullbacks now on this pair, I will definitely be looking to add a position or take my own position on this. Any sort of pullback to this level, if we could get a pullback retracement to retest the trend line, the 4 hour, that would be excellent. But with the kind of momentum coming in here, this thing could run all the way down to this level before pulling back at all. Let's see. Dimitri with your channels, they always look so good. Yep, beautiful channel. Yeah, this has a ton of potential. And I bet the bottom of this channel lines up perfectly with the, let's take a look. With the 236 extension, it's like perfect. So I think that's a fantastic target. That's a ton of room to move. I think as far as long-term plays go, this one looks like it could be going to the downside for at least 2 weeks. So this one's definitely something to keep an eye on and try to get in whenever you can. Let's look at EuroCAD. EuroCAD should probably be. Oh no, this is week against week. Yeah, that's why we're kind of forming this. So the weekly chart probably has a low test. This one had a breakout higher high. It kind of looked like it could potentially be having a trend change after this double bottom. So price came down, double bottomed, and then we got this higher high, break above the weekly, but then we came back down. We could potentially be forming a higher low here. And it's kind of looking that way with the daily. We've got some tweezer bottoms here. Unfortunately, to take any long positions, you got to trade right back into the daily, and the daily is bearish. It's definitely in a bearish trend. We had this first lower low relative to this low, lower high. Now we have another lower low. So we're still in a bearish trend, and any sort of upside positions, even though it's at the 618, you got to trade through the daily. So it's not something I'd really be interested in taking at this point. Maybe if we get a strong break above. But with the way Euro's looking and the way CAD's looking, I don't think this is going to be a really strong play for next week, in my opinion. So I'm not going to add it to the weekly watch. Let's have a look at Euro Pound, one of my least favorite pairs. So this one looks like it's finally going to fall out of this triangle we have here. We did get some weekly. Pound, it looks like it's slowly starting to power up. The weekly charts are starting to really give some direction. And now we have this break below. I think it's safe to say next stop would be this 83.5 level, 83.6 level. This has been such a tough pair to trade, in my opinion, just because of the way it's been ranging in between that triangle. But I think this is probably the catalyst here. This was the point of no return. Now we're finally breaking out of this, and we could continue to the downside for quite some time with Euro being weak and the pound slowly making its comeback from Brexit. So this could be a really good potential short play. The monthly chart's pretty ugly, but we do have this potential tweezer top here, double high tests, and now we have some bearish momentum. So this could be a nice short play for quite some time. Any sort of scale-ins on this, like immediately after this break, would be ideal. If you can get a position right here and get your stop within this triangle, I think it's a pretty safe safe trade to hold for quite some time. I'll keep my eye on this. I'll add it to the weekly watch and see how it develops. Euro yen. Euro yen could be another CAD yen. Yeah, this thing is, the weekly chart is bearish. I see there's no stop to this thing. This thing is going to test these lows here, if not break them. This is just hugely bearish. We have this nice confirmed lower high. This is now a lower low. Any sort of pullback on this should be seen as a short play. I mean, look at this. This is crazy. That's a lot of red days on the daily chart. 4-hour chart is massively overextended. It hasn't even offered that first initial APL there, but other than that, there has really been not too many entries. You'd really have to start drawing potential phase lines in here and just taking like phase line shorts to try to capture movement on this. Yeah, you got to just take them as these phase line breaks, or however you can see structure. So usually the 1-hour chart will give you something where you can start. So that was a decent phase line here. This one is forming a bottom, so you'd really have to be like looking at these and drawing structure in here. So you can see that it formed this kind of quad bottom on the hourly, and any sort of break of that. Look at that break and retest here. That was very nice. You could have been looking for something like that. I definitely wasn't looking for it, but that's how you could potentially play these ones that don't pull back at all. You just kind of got to draw on these 1-hour phase lines, or find some sort of structure so that you can kind of get a feeling to where you could have a safe stop. But this one's definitely overextended in my opinion. I mean, this thing has just been falling. So if maybe we can get like a nice phase line all the way up to this level and a continuation down. But at this point, this thing is just so overextended that it's going to be a little tricky to try to get an entry. I'm not going to keep it on the weekly watch just because it looks like it's a tough one to try to catch. But let's have a look at Euro Kiwi. Euro Kiwi is kind of like the other Euro Aussie, Euro CAD in that it formed this lower high after a weekly rejection. I thought it was a breakout higher high, potential trend change, but I'm pretty convinced that this is just a lower high and we are going to come down and at least test the recent lows. Daily chart is decelerating a little at this daily level, but again, we had really low volume. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm not really looking for any short plays at this time just because there's pretty good structure at this level and I don't want to trade through that. Maybe if we get a breakdown below and a retest, that would be more convincing. But I think for the week ahead, I'm not really going to look too much at this pair. So we'll look at Euro Dollar. So after this nice bearish breakdown, this previous 2 weeks, we didn't get too much bearish momentum here. And we had that kind of fake out after this deceleration on this trend line here, but then we were immediately rejected at the daily. The daily pushed this down pretty quickly after that run up. And now we're kind of, let's look at the 1 hour. The 1 hour chart, we're kind of got a break and retest of this phase line here, and price has started to tank. I wasn't looking shorts on this one just because we had this huge bullish breakout, so I wasn't looking for any short positions. But I can see the bearishness in this. The weekly, I think, is going to play out now. Now we have this lower high, we have this 50 rejection. I think we're going to start really breaking down now, potentially test these levels at 138. I, I don't even think this will be an issue. I think with this, the French election, this thing is just going to start tanking. So, euro dollar, definitely want to keep on the watch list. Between euro dollar and euro pound, that could be a good play. Euro Aussie looks great too. There's a lot of potential for next week, a ton of potential. We're just gonna have to be patient and play our cards right. But I think there's a ton. I mean, this would have been a nice APL move here on this 4 hour break. Yeah, and see right here would be this was a perfect APL, but I wasn't even looking for it just because of this bullishness changed my bias so quickly. But there's definitely ways to take advantage of this. Okay, so that's halfway through the watch list. So let's take a little 5 minute break and then we'll come back and talk about these pound pairs and these Kiwi pairs.
like 6 months? Yeah, even though I've been here how many times? Accessible rates for crispy treats.
Testing, testing, testing. All right, you guys ready to move on to Pound Aussie? Pound Aussie looks pretty sweet. Need I say more? So Pound Aussie weekly chart looks pretty bearish. I have a feeling it's going to come down and form a triple bottom. I think we're going to get a nice descending triangle here. So I definitely see, I can see it coming down all the way to 160 at least. I know it's been pretty bullish, even on the monthly chart. We have this nice double bottom, but I'm with the way Aussie's looking, with the way the commodities are powering up due to the dollar being weak, I could definitely see this as just another premature bullish breakout kind of thing. Daily chart looks pretty good. This is still a lower high. We did start this bullish run where we had higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, but now we're really starting to break down. It'll be interesting to see if we break this daily level. I'm pretty sure we will. So this was on the watch yesterday, but it didn't pull back as nicely as I was hoping for. But it looks like it's just gonna completely collapse. Maybe we'll get a nice breakdown here, retest of the trend line for market open tomorrow, or I'm sorry, Sunday. But Pound Aussie looks fantastic for weekly watch. Definitely gonna keep an eye on this one. This one looks like it has a ton of potential too. I favor Euro Aussie to Pound Aussie, but Pound Aussie looks pretty excellent on all the time frames really, with the exception of the monthly chart, just because we have a double bottom here. But the way everything else is shaping up, I still think we're going to be stuck in this descending triangle for quite some time. Let's have a look at Pound Swiss. Pound Swiss is kind of like Euro Aussie. But this one's not as telling. On Euro Aussie, we finally had that breakout, but with Pound Swiss, we're still just kind of just hanging out at the top of this asymmetrical triangle wedge type, whatever this is. But as soon as we get a break above, a clean break, I want to see one of these bullish engulfings come in and give a clear indication that this is definitely going to go to the upside before I try to take anything on this. This thing has just been stuck in this for so long that I'm more than happy sitting on the sidelines until it wants to show me what it's going to do. So I'm not going to keep it on the weekly watch. I'll still look at it from day to day just to monitor it, but I'm not really a fan of this pair, to be honest. So look at Pound Yen. Pound Yen has finally given us a really clean break of this descending triangle that was forming. And now last week ended pretty bearish. So it's been stuck in this, and it's been grinding so ugly. So this daily chart has just been so ugly. Just it's been trying to break out so much, but the yen just keeps overpowering it. I don't like this price action. This seems so scary to try to trade just because it's constantly ranging, constantly. You don't know where to put your stop. This isn't one of my favorite pairs to trade at all. At least not right now. And this is kind of a sheer drop here. So I'm curious to see if there will be any sort of pullback. I'm not going to keep it on the weekly watch just because it's not as clean as some of the other stuff out there. There's some of these pairs like Pound Aussie, Euro Aussie, potentially Aussie Kiwi that are just looking so good that just focusing on those pairs and holding those for a week or two could really turn some nice profits on just focusing on a couple pairs. So this one, it does look really bearish. Trying to capture a move on it seems very difficult in my opinion, and I don't think it's worth the risk with the other great setups out there. So Pound Kiwi looks phenomenal also. You can just see from this weekly chart that we have a weekly trend line here, and now we have this deceleration doji followed by a high test. This is also a double top. This looks fantastic. This is a great zone on the daily chart. This looks like it's totally just going to collapse. So yesterday, you can just see how good this zone is. There's just all kinds of rejections. Nice deceleration. This is just a fantastic zone here. And we kind of got this false breakout after it was stuck in this really good 4-hour channel. But now price is just completely breaking down. And now we actually had a beautiful retest of the pivot, the channel here. And I actually did get triggered in on this. I think a few of us did in the community. And it kind of just chopped around for quite some time. Dimitri, I know you'll get your revenge on this, and I know you already made a killing on your initial play. So for anybody that wasn't aware, Dimitri, if you don't mind, I'd like to share. We had a couple of APLs that played out pretty well on this, just playing the channel here. These 2-to-1s worked out, 1 time here, 2 times here, 3 times there, and there was actually a 4th one that played out pretty perfectly to the top of the channel here. But Dimitri saw this nice 4-hour high test here at the top of the channel, and he entered short and caught this entire move down. It was a fantastic trade, fantastic, just to be so aware of the price action. And he always draws these fantastic channels in here so that he can really get an idea of what price is telling him, and it was just a fantastic trade. Yeah, it was definitely a fantastic trade. So, and I mean, this is just price action. All he had was this level here, this potential false breakout, and a nice 4-hour like inside bar. It was a great catch, definitely a great catch. So any short positions now will be really good. I think we're going to completely tank out of this zone here. Maybe we'll get a retest back up to here and potentially take it all the way back down to the bottom of this. But I see a lot of potential on Pound Kiwi. I'm definitely going to keep it on the watch. I will be looking for potential signs of deceleration around this level. We could completely come down and form a triple bottom here. We're still bearish. The higher time frames, like the monthly and the weekly, they are decelerating definitely. But this is just kind of like a choppy zone here, where it's just been ranging, and it did have some good intraday runs, but it's still bearish in my opinion. We still don't have the confirmation just yet. We don't have the breakout higher high yet to signify that we are having a weekly trend change. So I can definitely see this falling for quite some time. And the way these bearish moves happen on this, we could get a bearish engulfing that just completely takes out this level. So between this and Pound Aussie, these look fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Let's have a look at Pound Dollar. Pound Dollar looks like it's potentially going to break out finally. Too late to get in on Pound Kiwi? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think there's going to be tons of entries on Pound Kiwi. just I think APLs alone will get a bunch. Just because look how often, and Pound Kiwi was the one that I heavily back tested for the APL strategy, and it seems to give APLs left and right. So as soon as it runs, just wait for any sort of pullback. I think any pullback to this level, once we break it, will be a fantastic shorting opportunity. We need to get out of this choppy low volume yesterday or today. But once we get out of that, price should start trending again, and I think there's definitely at least one or two opportunities in here. I mean, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 APLs just to this run, so I would expect we would get at least 2 APLs on the run down. So pound Kiwi looks great. Let's go to pound dollar. So pound dollar had this weekly triple bottom here when it's still forming lower highs every single time, and now it's kind of forming this maybe asymmetrical triangle type of whatever you want to call it. But it looks like we could potentially be breaking out. It's a little too soon to tell right now. I like this double bottom. I was expecting a break once we finally got this bullish move here, but it died again at this trend line. This trend line is so good, so well respected that I wouldn't try to go long yet. There was a potential intraday play up to the top of this trend line here, but price never pulled back. So this one's kind of a wait and see. I'm not even going to put it on the weekly watch just because I need more confirmation on this. I like the triple bottom, but I don't like that it's continuously making lower highs. So we'll see what happens. We'll monitor it on the day to day, but I don't think it's anything fantastic to make the weekly. Pound CAD, pound CAD, pound CAD, pound CAD. So pound CAD has the monthly tweezers, and it looks like it's finally starting to move a little bit. So the weekly chart's been trying so hard, and it got stuck in this. This was just an ugly daily range here, where there was just no opportunities at all. And we finally got some bullish momentum, and we got what I believed was a potential higher low on the daily chart. So I really liked this bullish rejection here. It's kind of a lower low still, but it's the perfect 618 rejection. It was the perfect daily rejection also. My dripping tap? Do you hear something dripping in the background? It's probably my mouse. It's the mouse clicks. Is that what it is? I'll have to get a quieter mouse. Huh. um, but yeah, I like this. I liked it. I think this is a good potential higher low here. I love the bullish engulfing that came in. It did kind of chop sideways for a minute, but I think with U.S. oil potentially falling off a cliff, this thing could really take off to the upside. I actually have 2 positions open on this right now, 2 APLs. And it looked like we were starting to get some momentum, but then the volume just kind of dropped. So it'll be nice for this to do something. But I'm pretty confident that we'll go up and continue to make higher highs. I like this trend line here. It's pretty well respected. And we could even get another APL. Price could continue up and then do another false breakout. But I like pound CAD. Hopefully it plays out. I don't know if I'll keep it on the weekly watch. Just because I personally wouldn't keep it on the weekly watch just because I already have 2 open positions on it. I don't really want to scale in a third one on this until we get some more confirmation. I still haven't figured out a hard rule for APLs. Like with that pound kiwi, do you take all 4 of them? That seems crazy. So two is kind of my max right now, and we'll see how that goes. But I think there's definitely potential, but let's see if we get a break at this level first. Once we get a break at this level, then I'll be convinced that we are potentially going to come up and maybe target these highs up here. Maybe we'll finally get this nice breakout. Let's look at Kiwi Yen. So Kiwi Yen has just been bearish forever, and it's continuing to be bearish. We started to get a little deceleration, and then it immediately got reversed. This is another one of those. This is like a pound yen, a euro yen, where price just keeps falling. It had some pretty early APLs that would have banked a lot, but that was kind of before the APL strategy was even developed. This was a potential one. I wasn't really keeping an eye on it. Trying to go long on this would be trying to catch a falling knife. Yes, absolutely. Just because this is so overrun to the downside. But you can see that those are little intraday structures that you could be watching to try to catch positions on. But these ones are tough. If you're not in at the beginning and just letting the momentum take your position down, these are hard to get in on just because you don't really know where the safest stop is. So I'm not gonna keep this on the weekly watch. I mean, this has been a perfect breakdown here, and this was last month's monthly feature that I got 0 positions on. But yeah, this one's going to go on the back burner until something happens to create value. But I don't see any value on this right now. Kiwi Swiss, I thought was going to completely start tanking out after this break here. And then we've been stuck in this blue box, this consolidation zone. And we're still in it after last week. So I'm not looking for anything on this. This could potentially break to the upside. Maybe we'll get a retest before it starts to fall. Maybe this will completely break out and form new highs. At this point, I'm not interested just because it's been in this blue box for so long. So I'm not even going to keep it on the radar. Let's look at Kiwi CAD. So Kiwi CAD's interesting. I thought we were having a weekly trend change. It looked like we had this nice lower low develop after that we got this previous higher low here, and then we got a nice lower high. The daily or the weekly doesn't look too great on this. The daily doesn't look too great either. There's a lot of wicks. It's kind of a scary pair to trade just because of how often price can kind of invalidate your setup just because the structure isn't clean. But we did get a weekly low test. And with the commodities looking like they're going to power up, Aussie and Kiwi, and CAD potentially falling off a cliff with oil, this could be a good potential long play. Fundamentally, I guess you could draw a trend line here. Something, I guess it'd look better on the intraday. Let's actually remove this zone. So this is the low test that we got. Was this nice false break and immediate rally. So this, I guess this could have been the first Oh no, it didn't break down. So any sort of break to the upside, this is, I mean, as good as this momentum looks, I'd really need to see a lot of bullish momentum come in. I mean, even if we got a breakout, we'd still have to be trading into the daily EMA here. Maybe if we get a huge breakout above the daily, let's see where the weekly is. Yeah, so if we get a break above the weekly and the daily, where's the monthly? Is the monthly below us? Yeah. So I could see a break higher and maybe a retest of this, and I would be convinced if we could get a break higher here, because that would show that we have a higher high, potential higher low at the daily and weekly. I think that would be a good potential value zone, but a lot has to happen. A lot of bullish momentum has to happen, and I'm not going to try to anticipate that to put it on the weekly watch. I'll monitor it day to day to see how it plays out. But a lot needs to happen before I consider taking a position. It really has to break out and pull back. Let's look at Kiwi dollar. So Kiwi dollar is pretty interesting. It's not the greatest trend line at all, and I'm not going to put much weight on it, but you can see that it is still forming higher lows, and now we have a potential double bottom here. It'll be interesting to see if it breaks above the daily. If we get a clean break above the daily, I do have a position on this that I would like to ride up to the daily. And once we get to the daily, I will bulletproof this and see what happens. If we get a ton of deceleration at the daily, I might consider shutting it down. But I see this as a potential long-term position, just with the way the U.S. dollar is shaping up, with Trump shaking things up, with Syria, North Korea. It just creates panic, and all that panic is just a psychological sell-off on the dollar. I mean, you can just see with Brexit, just the panic it caused and the amount of selling off that took place. So I think this has a ton of potential. I could be wrong. It could completely reverse from here. This could be a lower high. It could go up to the daily and completely reverse. But that's how I'm kind of looking at things now. I like that we got a weekly. It's almost like a weekly bullish engulfing to pretty much invalidate this previous weekly bearish candle. So that's how I'm gonna play it. To put it on the weekly watch, not really, just because I need to see what happens at this daily level. If we get a nice clean break above the daily, that should be the daily and the weekly, and that'll convince me that we're going to form higher highs, come back down, form higher lows, and then potentially take it a little further. But at this point, I wouldn't want to add any positions to it until we get some more confirmation. So I'll look at dollar CAD. So dollar CAD's kind of tricky right now. It's been decelerating for almost a month now, and it looks like we had a nice break of the daily. We had this nice double bottom here. We had this fake out lower high, and then price collapsed after this third rejection of the daily here. But then it completely recovered. Even with dollar being kind of weak right now, it completely recovered just because CAD is so weak. So you're potentially playing a really weak currency against a somewhat weak currency, and I don't think there's a lot of room to move. I think the potential for this choppiness, this kind of indecisive, ranging market is what's going to happen, at least until we get I think it's just going to consolidate until we break out of this little triangle we have here. So this isn't something I'm interested in next week. It's just, it's just not clean. It's just choppy. So look at dollar Swiss. So dollar Swiss is kind of like the dollar index in that we're forming these lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. But Swiss has been kind of weak, so it hasn't been able to really push down as much as the other currencies have. I don't like the level it's sitting at. I don't like how it's sitting at the daily. If we go to a really nice bearish engulfing, maybe I'll consider a long position. But at this point, I really don't want to. I don't want to have any more exposure to the dollar pairs, to be honest, until we get more confirmation on what's really going on. I think we need some more weekly confirmation that this is going to be a real trend change here. I mean, this is the first potential lower low, but it could also be interpreted as a double bottom. This is a lower high, but I would really need to see. I need to see more because this is quite the retrace. This is well above the 618 retrace of this current move. So I need to see a little more to have any sort of confidence on trading this one. Let's look at dollar yen. So yeah, I did that nice right up on dollar yen, and it did the complete opposite. So my bias has definitely been reversed. I see this coming down to test these lows at 100 here. I don't foresee any sort of higher low being developed now. I think this is just going to be a complete sell-off. This will be another one. These yen pairs are kind of tricky to catch. They don't really give too much indication. I guess this was a nicer pullback. I was actually expecting a deeper pullback to the daily, but you can see that structure was there, and structure prevented this from having any further of a pullback. The 4-hour chart did put some potential APLs in here. So this was a potential APL that would have worked out. This was a potential APL that did work out actually. The stop was so tight on this that it closed out at 2% right around here. I didn't take any of these short just because I had a long bias from this bottom here. But if you would have had the short bias like all the other yen pairs, this would have been 3 potential APLs that would have banked 2% each. So that's how you can catch these when they're really moving. So any sort of pullbacks, any sort of APLs that present themselves on this, I will definitely be looking for short plays all the way down to that 100 level. So I'm going to keep this on the weekly watch just because I am a bear on this, and I'm going to be looking out for potential APLs just because they seem to play out pretty well on dollar yen. So that's all I really have. I can go over some of the more obscure pairs. Let's take a look at U.S. oil. So U.S. oil had that nice bearish breakdown, and now it looks like it's coming back up. It formed this kind of high test type candle on the weekly chart. The daily chart looks really good. So the daily chart has this nice trend line here, and now we have this break and retest of the trend line. So I can definitely see this coming down to retest the lows of the kind of channel, trend line, triangle, whatever we have going on here. But you can see that this is pretty well respected. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 really clean rejections on it. So I could definitely see this coming down. Maybe it'll be around the 618 by the time this actually plays out. But that's going to lead to a lot of CAD weakness if this does continue to the downside. The daily had this nice bearish engulfing, and the intraday had a pretty nice setup. So the 4 hours have been trending very nicely to the upside. And the 1 hour chart had this fantastic, look how well respected this trend line was. And then we came and tested the backside of it and formed this little head and shoulder pattern, this kind of perfect head and shoulder pattern. And now it's slowly breaking down. I can't trade oil, but this was the trade I posted right when the setup developed. So with this one, once this high test developed here, and then the tweezer developed, I went down to the 15-minute chart, and you can see that it had this nice little wedge that formed, and then I went to the 5-minute chart and just drew a phase line in and had an entry just sitting below, and then it totally collapsed. So that's how you can really take advantage of these plays. U.S. oil seems to have really, really clean price action, and I think if there's any chart to study and back test and just get familiar with price action and how price action plays out, I think U.S. oil is a fantastic chart to look at. It seems like it really has clean setups. When the setups do develop, they are really clean and they really show you what's happening in the market. So I'm a bear on U.S. oil, at least until this daily level here. It was well respected in the past, and we kind of just broke up. So we could decelerate right here and potentially form a higher low, but I think it's going to keep playing to the downside. So we'll see what happens. But it's definitely an interesting chart. Let's look at dollar peso. So I was hoping for a little pullback to the trend line in the weekly. I think the daily's right there also. Yeah, the daily's right there also. I was hoping for some sort of pullback, but it seems to just keep tanking away. I mean, this just kind of illustrates just how weak the U.S. dollar is, because the Mexican peso has just been destroying it. Let's look at gold. So gold is completely breaking out to the upside, and when gold breaks out to the upside, it usually means U.S. dollar's weak, and it usually means the yen is going to continue to be weak because they're the two safe havens. We do have a higher low here. It is a pretty deep retrace, but this looks pretty good. So we had this breakout, now we had a higher high, now we have a higher low, and I can see price coming. So I can definitely see it coming. At least retesting these highs here. I can definitely see that. The yen looks like it's just going to keep pushing, and as soon as the yen keeps pushing, gold keeps pushing. So this could continue to go higher, especially if Trump keeps starting wars and stuff. Everyone's going to start going to gold and yen. So this one has a lot of potential. I can't trade gold either, but I can definitely see the trend change happening here. Now we have higher high, higher low, higher high. We're definitely in a bullish run. So any sort of, I think this is going to pull up a little higher and give another higher low. You could potentially draw a little trend line in here and see if it'll pull back. Maybe it'll continue higher and then pull back to this level and give a nice long position. But I'm definitely bullish on gold. Let's look at dollar Swedish krona. So we have a nice breakdown. We do have this kind of double bottom. We have this nice weekly rejection that led to this bullish move up. We've had a full week of deceleration after this lower high. Now we have a potential double bottom or double top lower high. This was a really nice breakdown, and it kind of stalled out at the daily. But I actually have a potential APL play here. I'm going to take this as a potential trend change, with this being the first lower high. So I have a potential APL to trigger in somewhere around here once we get some bearish momentum in to confirm it. But I like this. I like the double tops. I think it's a good level. This is a great breakdown. It was a hefty, kind of a hefty retrace, but it's still, you can see it's a perfect 618 retrace, perfectly stalled out here. And then I thought this was going to be a bearish engulfing to immediately trigger me in, but then volume had just completely died for the holiday. So this is a potential for market open. See if this will trigger me in. But that's all I really have. That's everything on my list. Oh, let's look at Swiss yen. Sorry, I did skip this. Swiss yen's the same thing. It's bearish as heck. Trying to catch this is going to be tricky. I'm no longer looking for a potential higher low on this. I think it's going to come all the way down and test these lows here. Trying to find an entry on this is tricky. You can see on the 1 hour chart, it did kind of form this structure here. We got like this triple bottom, and then price broke down, retested it and the H150, and completely collapsed. So if you really want to look for structure on these pairs and take little like phase line entries or break and retests of, if you can get a good structure on this, you can potentially do that. But these are definitely sketchy in my opinion, trying to jump on these without getting in at the top. So not really on the weekly watch for this. It's super bearish, but trying to catch a position is going to be tough. Yeah, it looks a lot like Euro Yen. So that's all I got. Anybody have anything else they want to go over? Everybody ready to go enjoy their holiday weekend? All right, cool. Good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, April's going to be a really good month. Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. I'd love to go to Australia. I don't know if I could handle the plane ride, but I gotta cross that bridge someday. Yeah, so you guys have a good holiday, and I'll see you guys in chat. I'll still be around. I'm not doing much. Probably just be hanging out, looking at the charts like always. So you guys have a good one. Dimitri, go get some surfing done. Scott, go hang out with all the Aussie peeps. I'm jealous. Other Scott, thanks for joining. Everybody that's watching this recording, I hope you guys have a really good holiday, and let's kill it next week. Let's end this month strong, real strong. So yeah, surf up the weekend, Dimitri. All right, guys. So I'll talk to you later.